This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Hi everyone, I hope you're well. I hope the new year has got off to a great start for you. It's a while since I've recorded this type of episode. It's a solo episode. So I thought what I'd like to do is set the scene for the coming year so you know what lies ahead for the podcast. I've got some really exciting plans to throw in some additional episodes soon for a period. In the main though, the show will continue as it is with one episode on a Friday, as it does now. And this episode is likely to be an interview moving forwards, and solo episodes like this will occur midweek, likely on a Tuesday. Also, to throw into the mix, I've got a special series planned for the future for parents of sporting kids, which will be available again on a Tuesday moving forwards. This is going to come in later in the year. Why sporting parents and kids? Well, you may have noticed that a number of our episodes in the last year have been targeted at sporting parents. This is because, as a business inspiring sporting excellence, there's now 12 of us involved as sports psychologists, clinical psychologists, and mental performance coaches. So, as a result, we support an awful lot of kids and parents. It's a big part of our work. The pressures on children today are staggering. Now, I sound old saying this. I hate to say it. In my day, that's right, in my day, you could be a kid, you could have fun with your sport, you could play lots of different sports, you could start and try sports in your teens, and there wouldn't be an issue. It would be a case of looking to specialise in sport when you're around maybe 15 to 16 years old, if you were good at something. Okay, I get maybe sports like swimming and gymnastics, that might differ slightly, but in the main, you would be a lot older. Because now, in youth sport today, if you were to start a sport at 12 years old, many teams or coaches wouldn't have you. You wouldn't be deemed as good enough or have the skills. That's right. There's so much pressure in sport these days. I had a conversation with a parent last week, I think it was, who was asking advice for a child as young as 5 years old. I was staggered. And the reason being was the child was involved in a football academy and they were training 4 days per week and they were playing a match at 5 years old. In my eyes, that's a little bit dangerous. It's no wonder that kids and parents' expectations of themselves and other people then becomes an issue, which, of course, as a sports psychologist, that is something we heavily get involved in. Let them play, I say, certainly at a young age, and have some fun. Try different sports. Learn to fail, learn to win, learn to build some social skills. Anyway, back to the podcast and the future. I'm keen to explore different sports and different professions, so I've been having a look at different fields that I haven't touched on so far in the 150 plus episodes. And I intend to just try and freshen things up every now and again to engage you. So, watch this space. Back to this episode though. This episode, we're going to concern ourselves with one aspect of Peter Clough's 4C's mental toughness model, control. I'm guessing if you're familiar with sports psychology and even elite sport, you'll have heard the phrase control the controllables. This is what we're going to look at in this exercise. Arguably, I would say most conversations I have with an athlete or a parent or a coach really link to this aspect, where I come at it from a range of angles. We're going to stay quite current. I've been watching quite a lot of the Australian Open Tennis Championship in Melbourne at the moment, especially Andy Murray's matches last week. And, boy, were his performances astounding. When we talk about grit, desire, determination, well, he had it in abundance last week. The two matches that he won were absolute classics. They lasted over 5 hours. And in that second match, he was well and truly written off. I can remember I was on a dog walk for a period and listened to it on the radio, and they just kept saying his body's given up. There's absolutely no way he's going to fight back in this. I think this was at the second set. But boy, did he give his opponent, Roberto Bautista Agut, a tough match. He seriously fought back. And, if we look at the circumstances, Andy voiced his displeasure at having to play at 4 a.m. after his second marathon match. Unfair, yes. Helping his opponent, yes. Then there was the physical tiredness and having to deal with the pain that he was going to go through. Was he in control of this? I would say yes and no. He was always going to feel it, but he could limit it with his recovery. If he used ice baths, compression socks, he got massages, stretched a lot, and obviously slept. And also, he could control what he put into his body with food and drink. All of this was under his control. But having the discipline to do all of this stuff is obviously a big trait of Andy Murray's and other top professionals. You know, many people would feel sorry for themselves in that situation. They would blame the tournament organisers, and then they would effectively self-sabotage by doing probably about 30 to 40% of what Andy Murray did. You know, when match day arrived, Andy probably woke up thinking, my legs, my backside, my metal hip does not feel sore and stiff. But because he's self-aware, would actually focusing on this help him? No, absolutely not. It's a distraction, right? Would thinking about winning help him? Probably not. Would winning early inside three sets help him? Well, it would be a nice feeling to think of that. But again, as Andy says, you know, thinking about results, again, is not within his control. When I ask my clients what success is in a match, many answer winning. Andy wouldn't. I really doubt he would. Yes, he would play to win, but he'd park it. He'd park the winning to one side, and he'd likely focus on giving 100% no matter what his opponent threw it at him. He'd look to stay calm in the big points. He'd be patient. He'd stick to his game plan. He'd move his opponent around a lot. He'd keep the points short, and he'd be aggressive. You know, all of this is under his control. After the match, I read a quote from him. You can't control the outcome, and you can't control how well you're going to play or the result, but you can control the effort that you put in. And I gave everything that I had, so I'm proud of that. So on this controlling the controllables theme, I'd like you just to follow a few little steps here to help yourself. Step one is simple. It's get a sheet of paper and a pen or a pencil, and then write down the situation ahead of you. So let's go with a match. So whether it be a tennis match, football or rugby match, a golf tournament, a cricket match, whatever it is, and write down the situation. Maybe it's coming up this weekend. Then what I'd like you to do is draw a vertical line from top to bottom of the page, and then towards the top of this vertical line, draw a horizontal line. So you'll be in a situation where you've got a table with 2 columns and 2 rows. The first row is going to be quite small, and then the second row is going to be large, where you can fill a lot of information. There's an example in the show notes to help you. So in column A, so the left-hand column, this should be titled I can control, whereas column B, the right-hand column is I cannot control. So next thing is we're going to think about the situation that is coming up for you this weekend, this match, and we're going to note down what is in your control and what is out of your control. So going back to the Andy Murray example, you know, we'll start on the right-hand side, where if you waste so much energy and emotion, it really isn't going to help you. What was out of Andy Murray's control? Well, it was a result, his performance, whether his opponent played well, his opponent's tactics, mindset, skill, body language, and so on. Then there was the umpire, there was the crowd, what they said, when and how, and if they got behind him, or if they were quiet, or if they were on the other guy's side. There was the starting time, if he made mistakes, how tired his legs were at the time, whether his serves were going in or not. Because let's face it, once the ball leaves the racket, there's nothing you can actually do about it. Then, you know, we could come up with probably another 10 examples of things that he can't control. For the purpose of this, I'm going to keep it short. So now the left-hand column, that's your job to complete this. What is it that you can control? Well, in Andy Murray's case, his attitude, his tactics, his body language, which sometimes isn't great if we're honest. Then you've got his footwork, or at least certainly in his circumstances, after playing 2 really tough games, it would be the thoughts he's having about his footwork and what he's telling himself. Then how he bounced back from double faults or mistakes, whether he took his time between points or whether he rushed, if he chose to eat or drink to keep his energy up. And Andy, he had a habit, always has had a habit of looking up to his box and his coach. So again, that's his choice, whether he does that or not. And I noticed in the games he was playing, he was trying to whip the crowd up to get some energy to feed off them. Again, that's his choice. So yeah, there's quite a lot, and we could probably go on, no doubt about it. So from this list, what I'd now be asking myself is the question, what is success in my next match, race or tournament? And the trick here is not to fall into the trap of choosing things on the right-hand side. Yes, we all want to win, or I hope you do, but choosing winning or performing well isn't in your control. So success really shouldn't be about that. Yes, have an eye on it, but don't make it the be-all and end-all. So what I'd like you to do is choose a minimum of 3. In fact, let's not choose a minimum. Let's just choose 3 of the most important things for you to focus on. So these things are all going to come from the left-hand side. Essentially, these are going to be process goals because you can control them. This is what success should look like to you. So back to Andy Murray again. If you attack those process goals, you're going to feel an awful lot better than you would if you simply focused on the winning or not losing. So Andy Murray, 3 process goals he could have chosen to make himself feel lighter. He could have chosen to be aggressive on the first serve. He could have chosen to finish points pretty quickly and never give up, no matter what happens. These are attainable. It comes down to him whether he actually could make those happen. He could focus on those quite easily. He could even rate himself for those, for the first set, the second set, the third set, the fourth set, or for the entire match. So that's right. Try and make success all about focusing on stuff that is attainable, because if you don't, it's going to drain you. As I said, look in the show notes. These exercises are there to help you with your little drawings on the paper there. I really do hope that this simple reminder does help improve your focus. It helps you avoid those distractions that we all face, no matter what sport we play. I'm hoping to get onto the tennis court myself this week. I think I might just try and concentrate on some of these things myself. Next week, you will hear from me again in a solo episode. Then we're going to get into the routine of Friday interviews. In the meantime, have a fantastic week. Feel free to join us in the Sports Psychology Hub. This Facebook group now has over 2,000 members and it's growing by the day. Feel free to join the group and you can DM me, you can get in touch, no problem if you want to reach out. Take care. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.